guardianship of Clink Sales, G2053991M. I'm Judge Linda Marquis. Also joining us is Belinda Hollenbaugh. Mr. Tody, your appearance for the record. You're on mute.
Your Honor, Frank Tody, bar number 5804, on behalf of maternal grandmother who is present via video.
And also Kaylee Hollenbaugh. Mr. Zernich, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Gary Zernich, my bar number 7963. I'm here with Kaylee.
And Mr. Hoffland.
4-3. Present in my office is the guardian Ping Ho. Along with me in another room is the ward, Jaden Clingsdales.
Morning, thank you, counsel. When we left off, Mr. Zernich was conducting cross-examination of the petitioner. I'll ask the petitioner to raise her right hand to be sworn again.
Raise your right hand, please. Oh, you do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you so much. You can put your hand down. Mr. Zernich, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Ho, we've been talking a lot about my client's visits, and you hadn't referenced that she appeared to be intoxicated in any way, shape, or form during a visit. I'd just like to confirm if that's an accurate statement, if I were to make it, that my client, when she's showed up for visits, has not appeared to be intoxicated.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? You said that I stated that she appeared to be intoxicated. Is that what you said?
No, I'm sorry. I said you did not provide that testimony, so I would just like to confirm the accuracy of the statement that of my question, that my client had not shown up for a visit appearing to be intoxicated. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, that's an accurate statement. Yes.
Okay. And might I ask, I know that I was asking you questions about the limitations to her visits. Why do you limit them to 1 hour and or sometimes 2 hours? Obviously, a movie would be longer than an hour, but otherwise, why are they limited to an hour?
Well, I answered this question already, but it's mostly because, one, Jaden's attention span isn't that long, and then the activities that Kaylee plans is never long enough to keep his attention span past an hour. Kaylee has at times shortened the visit, an hour visit, to 45 minutes because they had nothing else to do. Or she's shortened a 2-hour visit to 25 minutes because she didn't plan the appropriate stuff for the appropriate weather when she picked the park. Sometimes she decides she wants to do a movie visit, then it's 2 hours, or if she decides she wants to do, plop Jaden down in front of a computer and play video games, then his attention span can be an entire day, right? Kids and their electronics. But it just, she just doesn't provide enough stuff to keep his attention. And also, it's hard for him to just, sit there for 2 hours.
When he's at your house, does he just sit there for 2 hours with you?
Well, it's very different when it's me, right? Because he has a bond with me. He likes to play with me. He likes to jump on me. He likes to read books to him. He has that bond. He enjoys his time with me. With Kaylee, he hasn't developed that yet. I mean, Kaylee,
would you have any idea if he's ever had a bond with Kaylee? I mean, to be accurate to say, you would have no idea what his bond was with Kaylee before you ever met him. Wouldn't that be true?
Yeah, 100%. I was not present.
Okay. So if you're saying she's planning a visit for 1 to 2 hours, but she can't visit at your house in front of your computer, and would you be willing to go to her house for a visit?
No, I don't feel comfortable at her house. And
okay, thank you. Thank you. So if you're not willing to go to your house or to her house, that means she has to plan a visit somewhere else pursuant to your instructions or demands, not your house, not her house. So what's that going to leave? A park, a movie, bowling alley? So at that kind of visit, how long do you think that the visit should be? I mean, what's his attention span going to be out in the cold weather in a park?
Objection, argumentative, compound. Also speculation as to what my client believes Kaylee would do.
Judge, I think you're muted.
You're right. Mr. Zernich, ask another question for all of those reasons.
Okay. So what would your suggested visit be that would last longer than 2 hours?
I mean, if she wants to do it, if she wanted to do pole position, if she wanted to do a zoo, I suggested her bring a board game that usually lasts a couple of hours. You know, before I set the schedule of 1 hour and then expanded it to, I had suggested board games. To bring a board game, I suggested Pac-Man. Is a board game that he doesn't have yet, but he had shown interest in. And, you know, she didn't bring a board game. So.
Okay, so where's she supposed to play this board game?
At a park. People play chess at a park. People play checkers at a park. Why can't she play board games at the park?
In November, December, January, February, are you suggesting board games at the park in those 4 cold months?
Well, she can do something else indoors then. Why does it have to be, like, in November or in December? You're just trying to, like...
Okay, so what's your suggested visit for the 4 cold months that I just named? That's other than a board game in the park.
I mean, so I'm supposed to, it's my responsibility to plan her visits. She comes up with suggestions and I say yes or no. So is it my responsibility to plan what she feels that she can bond with her child? How did that responsibility lie on me?
Are you asking me a question? Because I'm not here to answer your questions.
That was rhetorical.
Oh, okay. So pole position. Let's go with pole position. Didn't she go to pole position one time, or one of those race car tracks?
No.
Okay. So do you understand the cost of pole position? Like I've taken my kids to pole position a bunch of times, and typically I think it's about a half an hour.
Well, you mentioned the cost and the time. Pole position can be as long as you want, as many times as you race. They also have an arcade area. And when it comes to time, she doesn't pay $1 in child support. She could at least use her money for her visitations.
Well, I'd like to talk about the use her money for the visitations as compared to what?
Child support. She doesn't pay. She hasn't given $1 in child support. She could at least use her money to pay for her visits, right? I pay for. If we go to movies, I have to supervise, and I pay for my own movie. If we go to anything ice skating, I have to pay my entrance. So
why don't I ask you this? If you go to a movie, what's the purpose of you having to sit in the movie with them?
I sit a row back, or, I sit a row back in a couple of, she's left him unattended at the movies numerous times. So, yes, obviously, I need to be there.
Well, if you're actually in the movie, sitting a row back, and she gets up to go to the bathroom, how is that leaving him unattended?
Because I'm not sitting with them. I'm sitting a row back, 3 seats over, and he's in a row in front, 3 seats to the left. And so, yes, he's sitting there with nobody around him. So, yeah, he's technically unattended, except for the fact that I am behind him.
So would you not agree that technically he is not unattended because you're sitting 1 or 2 or 3 rows back with him in plain sight? So technically he's not unattended. Isn't that accurate?
Okay, he's not unattended by me. He's unattended by Kaylee.
Okay, so you have no idea whether she would actually leave him unattended if you weren't there.
I don't know. If she is capable of leaving him while she is under supervision, then how do I know what she would do when nobody is watching her, when she has no eyes on her?
I guess the truth is you wouldn't know, would you?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't, but I
So
can.
how about when you go to the park? Kaylee says that when you go to the park, you typically insist to sit at the table with them, or like one table next to them. Is that accurate?
Objection as soon as facts not in evidence.
Mr. Zernich, re-ask that question.
When you go to the park, do you sit at the same table?
No.
Do you sit at the table right next to them?
There is no table right next to them.
Where do you sit?
I usually sit in my car where I can see them and I wait for them. Unless she goes around to the other side of the park where I can't see her, then yes, I will follow them and sit on where the park is, where the play park area is, and I have visual on them.
Do you think that it's possible that Jaden senses your presence with the eyeballs always on them and makes his visit uncomfortable?
Well, I don't believe so, but again, like I stated before, that's not my consequence, right? That's her consequence. That's court ordered.
Court ordered that you supervise the visits?
Court ordered that her visits should be supervised. If she wants to pay for somebody to supervise her visits, that's a different story. I volunteer my time and my own money to supervise so that she doesn't have to pay, I don't know, $100 an hour or whatever it is that people charge for supervised visitation.
Isn't the court order technically that the visitation is at the discretion of the father?
Correct.
Not necessarily supervised, but just at his discretion?
No, the court order states that it's supervised visitation up to Rex's discretion.
So it's your opinion that the visit need to be supervised?
I've already stated, yes, I do.
Can you state again one more time why you think it needs to be supervised?
Because Haley has ran around with Jaden before, telling Jaden that they should hide from me when it's supervised. Kaylee makes him feel very uncomfortable because she cries and can't keep her emotions in check, or because she says a lot of negative things about me to him, which creates a lot of distrust between him and her. I've already addressed this, and I hope that, they...
If you're sitting in your car and she's sitting in a park bench, how do you have any idea what she says to him?
Judge, counsel asked her question. She was responding to as an open-ended question. If she could just finish.
The petitioner can continue, and then Mr. Zernich can ask another question.
I mean, I already forgot what I was saying. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Mr. Zernich.
You said that, I believe you said one of the things was that she says inappropriate things to him. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is correct.
So I'm going to repeat my question about sitting in the car and or maybe following them across the park but staying far enough away to give them their privacy. What do you do? Do you have a microphone on him so that you could listen in?
No, but Jaden is almost 9 years old, and he has a mouth and he has a mind, so he does tell me what happens when he gets into the car. He tells me how uncomfortable he was. He tells me it's the worst visit ever. Kaylee was crying. He tells me that she tells him I'm just the nanny and that she's going to live with her, and he's very frightened and he has anxiety. He can't sleep. He comes to my room instead of sleeping in his room because he has nightmares.
So what would you say if Kaylee said Jaden tells her that you tell him not to hug her, that he's not allowed to say he loves you, that he can't smile because otherwise you get upset?
I would say that is not true.
So when they go across the park, if she decides to go across the park, and all you need to do is supervise and make sure she's not actually leaving, what's the purpose of having to follow them?
Because I can't see them. Here's a play park, and the play park is right here with the slides and stuff. And then there's a gate, and then usually I'm here, and here's a bench. And you can see her and Jaden, but she chooses to go all the way around the play park where my view is completely obstructed.
So if we take this one step into the future, and let's just say the court grants your petition to be the guardian. I mean, what's your suggested a method of having Kaylee bond with Jaden, or do you suggest that perhaps you get guardianship and she just continues with this supervised visitation forever, or maybe just makes it easy and goes away?
Isn't that up to her? How much effort she wants to put in? How much time? How
Well,
if she shows
I'd
up?
just like to know what your suggestion is
My
of
suggestion.
bonding. Kaylee and Jaden bonding.
My suggestion, for the third time on record, I feel for her to bond with Jaden, she needs to show up.
Show up. But she does show up multiple times. Hasn't she shown up She's had lots of visits.
Okay, so, since you said that,
Is it so when she shows up and if she shows up and she's 45 minutes late, do you think how does that affect Jaden if Jaden has no idea what the time is supposed to be unless you tell him? And would you tell him when she's late?
Jaden, I'm sorry, Jaden knows what time school starts. Jaden knows what time his occupational therapy starts. Jaden knows what time his visit starts. He's not 2.
Okay, so say if a visit starts at 11 o'clock and she's at 11:15. I mean, don't you think that you would have some obligation to try to smooth that over with him?
I don't say anything. We just sit in the car and wait, and he's usually just playing on his iPad. I don't make him, stand there like a soldier and wait for her. He's usually just on his iPad, talking to his friends or playing on the phone until she arrives. That's why I'm able to wait 45 minutes when she's late, because he's occupied. Or I talk to him and just chat with him. He doesn't just sit there and do nothing for 45 minutes.
I'll put my microphone on mute for a second and just converse with my client, if that's okay. Hey, Ms. Ho,
Yes.
how would you categorize the relationship between Jaden and his father?
I think their relationship is great. He loves his father.
Okay, so how many times has his father seen him in the last year?
I think we went over this again too. Due to the pandemic, this year, 0. Due to the pandemic, 0. Last year,
How much last year?
I said 0. We had a pandemic.
Okay. So with Kaylee, although she's missed some visits, wouldn't you agree that she's had a lot more visits than the father?
He's had more visits, but the father has had more phone visits.
When Kaylee tries to call, do you give her any privacy?
Kaylee doesn't ever try to call.
Has she ever called?
She's called, I would say maybe twice, and one time that was initiated by me. He texted and I said he's in a bath, and I had just bought him this new bath gel that turns the color to blue, and I asked her if she wanted to have a chat with him. He was in a very good mood, and they did. That was one conversation. Another conversation was Kaylee's birthday. She had texted, oh, if Jaden has time, can he call me for my birthday? And he did. And then another time is during the pandemic. We had a FaceTime video with her. But there's numerous, I would say at least 3 other times, I asked her, I said, would you like to do a set video time or phone conversation time with him? And she said no. I've suggested it, and she's declined it, sorry.
I'm curious, have you ever been to Haley's residence?
I have been to Kaylee's residence, her old one, when she didn't have any toilet paper during the pandemic, and me and Jaden dropped off some toilet paper for her. But we didn't go inside. We just dropped it off curbside.
Okay. Judge, I got no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffland.
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Tody.
Judge, I do have a few follow-ups.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It'll be brief, Judge. Ma'am, you had indicated earlier regarding, strike that. The residence that you're currently residing in, how long have you been in that residence?
Over a year?
Okay. And are you the owner of the residence?
No.
Okay. Who's the owner of the residence?
I'm assuming it's landlord.
Okay, so it's a rental property?
Yes, it's a rental property.
Okay, what is your rent there each month?
I'm sorry?
What's your rent each month?
My rent each month is about $1,500.
Okay.
Well, including like trash and utilities and stuff, or just?
Is that included or is that separate?
It's separate.
Okay, so $1,500 is for rent only.
Correct.
Okay, and you're also responsible for all utilities. It's not included in the rent.
Correct.
Okay. When is the rental term expiring?
It expires April 18th, I believe, and then it goes month to month.
Okay, so your plan is,
because we extended it.
okay, so your plan is to remain there month to month.
No, not for a very long time.
Okay, what is your plan after vacating that residence?
Well, I believe it's not a set date because it's a new construction, but at the end of, it was supposed to close in May, but the builder called and said that the window manufacturer having issues, it's gonna be postponed until the end of June, and we're moving into, I'm purchasing a property.
Okay. All right. And so you're waiting for a home to finish being built.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And where is that residence, just generally?
It is South Las Vegas Boulevard, near South Point and the M Casino.
Okay. And would moving residences cause any changes to the child's schooling or anything of that nature?
It will be during summer.
But will he change schools as a result?
I don't know yet. He really likes his school, so sometimes they allow it. So I've discussed it with his teacher to see if we can stay within that school district. But if not, then yes, he would have to change. But we have talked about keeping him there.
Okay. All right. And as far as your work schedule, I believe you set something forth at the last hearing, but could you please reiterate what your work schedule is currently?
Well, currently during the pandemic, I'm just at home with Jaden, and
Okay.
I play poker online.
Okay. And are you saying that when you are at home with Jaden and you play poker online, are you indicating that you play poker online recreationally, or are you saying that you earn income from playing poker online?
Well, I'm not very good, to be honest, for online poker because it's really different than live. So I would have to say recreationally, just online because it was a big adjustment from being live to online.
Okay. All right. So what has been your source of income since the pandemic?
Since the pandemic, I have residential income. I own a property in California, a condo, so I have residential income. But people aren't really paying because of the pandemic.
Okay, well, yeah, I apologize. So is it income or not? Are you receiving income as a result of your rental property in California?
Some, like a little bit, depending on how much they can afford that month.
Okay.
So
and
it's not like before.
Okay. On an average monthly basis, how much would it? How much has it been in the last 12 months?
Well, the rent is $2,800, so 1 month it's $2,800, 1 month is $1,400, some months it's zero. I mean, if I have to guess an average, maybe like 1,000.
Okay. So what are your sources of incomes that support you and the child currently?
Well, I have savings. I have a SEP-IRA, self-employment pension fund. And, I mean, I've been supporting him for 3 years, so with no problem.
Okay, well, so the SEP-IRA, how much do you receive from that a month?
I don't. I had to liquidate it.
Okay, how much did you liquidate?
$36,000.
When did you liquidate that?
I liquidated that, I think, about a year ago. Oh, 26,000, sorry. 26,000.
Okay, so a year ago you were able, was that the amount you received, or was that the amount after taxes and penalties?
It was not I received. It was not I received. And I have the file taxes. Not I received.
All right. And then now, when you mentioned your savings a minute ago, is that where the money from the IRA is, or was that something different?
No, I have savings that I use for poker as well. So I have.
Okay. So in addition to the $25,000 that you obtained about a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
what other savings do you have?
I mean, I have cash on hand because I play poker.
Okay. How much?
I mean, you mean sitting in my safe at home right now?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know, maybe like 25,000.
Okay. All right. So you're indicating that your current rent, where you and the child are staying currently, is $1,500 a month, and you have utilities, right?
Uh-huh.
How much do you pay in utilities a month, approximately?
Electric, depending on if it's summer or winter. Average, I would say maybe like 150. Gas is heat maybe 80. Yeah, probably.
Okay.
It's hard to say because it comes into one bill, except for electric. Like water, sewage, gas comes in one bill.
Okay. All right. And then you've testified that you have a vehicle. You've testified that you brought the child to and from the park and things of that nature, and you sit in your car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it electric car or is it gas?
Gas.
Okay. So you have you pay for gas each week, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And obviously you provide food for yourself and the child.
Uh-huh.
Clothing as need be, things of that nature.
Uh-huh.
I'm just trying to understand where this money is coming from. You've testified that you have $5,000 currently in a safe. You testified that you had $25,000 about a year ago from your IRA. How are you meeting your monthly obligations each month?
I have savings. Like I don't understand.
I'm sorry?
I'm really confused. Like I think I've answered that question. I mean, I have savings that I use.
How much do you have in savings right now?
I already told you. In my safe, I have about 25,000, and also I have parents.
Hold
so
on,
I mean, if I ever grant any.
Hold on. A minute ago, you said that in your safe at your residence, you had 5,000 in it.
No, I did not say that. I said 25.
So you currently in your safe have 25,000 at your residence.
Correct.
Okay. And a year ago, you removed the sum of $25,000 from your IRA and you put that into a bank account?
Yes.
How much is in that bank account currently?
I don't know because I mean, not a whole lot because I just paid a down payment for the house.
Okay.
For the
So
house, not
you
down
have
payment, for the earnest money deposit.
Okay, so you have little to no savings per your testimony, and you have $25,000 in cash.
That is not true.
Okay, well then could you tell me, please, ma'am? I've asked you a few times what amount you have in your savings account, and you said, I don't really know, not much.
Judge, for some reason, this hearing has gone to attack my client, and both counsel have taken a very aggressive stance. I don't know why. She hasn't been seen as being an aggressive.
Your Honor, with all due respect,
in addition to
I'm
that,
having questions
counsel,
as to, I'm having questions as to whether or not she can support the child financially.
hold on a second. I can't hear you both when you're both talking. Mr. Hoffman, I heard your comment. I think Mr. Tody's line of questioning is whether or not her income is sufficient to meet her obligations and those needs. So I think she's testified about her expenses and answered those questions. Mr. Tody's question, Mr. Tody, you can continue. Why don't you ask the next question that you had in mind?
Thank you, Judge. Now, ma'am, you also indicated that you have parents. What did that mean?
It means that I have parents who will help me support Jaden as well.
Okay. So they have no legal obligation to support either you or the child, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you'd be relying on them at this point.
I didn't say I would be relying on them. They would be a safety net in case there were ever a time where I would need them to, but I don't need them, haven't needed them.
Okay. All right. And so again, ma'am, just so I have it clear, and I apologize if I'm being argumentative or badgering, that's not my intent at all.
No, but you're just yelling at me.
Well, I apologize terribly because I'm not yelling. If my voice is coming across loudly, I do apologize. I'm not yelling at you.
Okay.
So,
Thank
you've
you.
established, we've made it very clear now, and I apologize because I misheard you, because I can promise you you're not yelling at me, because I can barely hear you.
Okay.
So, I thought you had said that you had $5,000 in your safe. You've now indicated that it's $25,000. I understand that. You also testified that you received $25,000 from cashing out an IRA approximately a year ago. And then I asked you, how much of that $25,000 do you have remaining? Do you know the amount?
I would say probably maybe like 3,000 or something. I just recently put a good earnest deposit down.
Understood. And you don't have any other savings accounts or retirement accounts or anything of that nature, correct?
I have stocks.
Okay, tell me about the stocks.
I have E-Trade. I have an E-Trade account, and I have stocks in that. And I recently just purchased for Jaden's birthday Roblox because it just came on the market.
Okay, and so what's the value of your E-Trade account currently, if you know?
Probably just around 3,000.
Okay, all right, and you testified obviously that you've been playing poker online for the last year because of COVID and not being able to play in person.
Mm-hmm.
Are you indicating that, and again, I kind of asked you if it was for employment or for recreation, and you had indicated recreation. Prior to the pandemic, were you playing poker as an occupation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Did you have any other full-time job other than playing poker prior to the pandemic?
Real estate and residential income.
Well, you talked about the residential income. That's the place in California, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Real estate. What do you do as in for real estate?
I'm a realtor.
Okay. Do you have any current listings?
No, I don't. I haven't really concentrated on that since the pandemic.
Okay, Judge, I have nothing else.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hoffland.
No questions.
Mr. Zernich.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up a few of those questions. Ms. O, you said that you put an earnest money deposit down on the house. How much was that?
It was 10,000.
What's your fair market value purchase price of that house?
320,000.
Might I ask how you intend to get a loan?
I don't intend on getting
Your
a loan.
present. What's that?
I don't intend on getting a loan.
Oh, I see. Where's the balance of the 320,000 coming from?
I have a mutual fund with my mother, and we're going to be paying it off in cash.
Okay, so is that house, are you purchasing that together with your mother?
Correct.
Okay, she's going to be what, a joint tenant or a tenant in common? How's that going to look?
Joint tenancy with rights of survivorship.
Okay. You referenced you have that condo, and you estimate you're getting about $1,000 a month from it presently. Do you have any encumbrance on the condo?
No, it's paid off in cash. Paid off in full.
Okay. Mr. Tony was going through basic monthly expenses, your rent and utilities. Do you have a car payment?
No, I do not.
Okay. What do you estimate your total monthly expenses to be?
Probably around 2,000.
Well, if you have 1,500 in rent, and I think you went through some utilities that I put at about 250 as an average. Are you saying that? Excuse me. That your monthly food bill between the two of you is $250 a month?
Well, I think it succumbs to be about 2,000. My it would be no, because my rent actually is $1,375. I just kind of rounded up to about 1,500 because it was just easier for me. But it's $1,375. It should be $2,050 with the pet deposit is $1,375. And then I don't really, I don't know. I've never had a problem with, coming up with money for my child. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Jaden is not your child. Would you recognize that as to be a true statement?
Yes, that's why I said Jaden. I mean, I think of him as my child. I just didn't give birth to him. I love him like he's my child. I take care of him like he's my child.
There's no pending question. When you moved into this apartment about a year ago, I think you said, what happened to your last place?
Well, the last place was fairly large. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-story house, and it was the lease expired, and it was fairly large, so we decided to move to a smaller house.
Did you get evicted?
No, I did not.
Okay. What's your tax payment and condo fee on the condo monthly?
On the one in California?
Yeah.
I don't know. My parents pay for it.
Okay. Do you own? Is that condo with? Are you just a partial owner of the condo, or is it your condo?
Well, it's my parents gave me the condo.
Okay. They gave you the condo, but they still maintain the taxes and the condo association fee?
Yes, I'm very lucky like that.
Is there any other properties that you have?
No. No.
Is it your intent to try to relocate from the state of Las Vegas?
No, that's why I purchased a condo here.
Okay. How much is the mortgage on your condo? Oh, you say you're paying the condo here cash.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what the tax is?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Okay, I'll re-ask it. Even though it's purchased cash, you still have expenses related to the condo. I presume there's taxes, and there must be a condominium association fee, if not more. Do you know what those numbers are?
Yes, it's actually really good. The monthly association fee is, I think it's $200, but that includes the internet. That includes all utilities except for electric. Includes water, sewage, trash, and cable, high-speed cable. Pretty good.
How about the taxes?
I don't know. It hasn't closed yet. They haven't given me the estimate.
Okay. last question. Do you have any idea how much money do you spend each month playing online poker?
Not very much, because like I testified, I'm really not that good at online poker. It's just for fun.
When's the last time you actually earned an income?
Well, beginning of the pandemic, I cashed for $5,000 in January. And then I believe in February at the Venetian, I cashed for maybe $15,000 in a tournament. And then March the pandemic started kind of happening. So my parents were very concerned and asked me not to play anymore and to stock up on toilet paper.
Okay. So you did stock up on the toilet paper.
I did. I gave some to Kaylee.
Yeah, I know. It sounded to me like you had an issue about it.
Why? I offered it. I asked her if she had any. She said no, so I gave it to her. No issue.
Oh, okay. Well, when I asked you if you had ever been to her house, you said yes, but it was only to deliver toilet paper, as if like you were blaming her for not having toilet paper.
No, it was hard to come by. I wasn't blaming her.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Judge, I have no further questions for Ms. Ting.
Mr. Hoffland.
Ting, both counsel have asked you questions just recently regarding your ability to pay for a house for Jaden to live in. Are you able to pay for a house for Jaden to live, provide shelter for him?
Yes.
Are you able to continue to provide for it? And for the last kind of 4 years, you provided a house for him, correct?
Yes.
And so during that period of time, you provided a house, shelter, medical, food, and everything for Jaden. Are you still able to provide for him for all those needs?
Yes.
Are you still able to provide for, even though you're not obligated to provide for during this time which you do the supervision free at no cost? Are you still able to provide that?
Yes.
And at any period of time, has Kaylee asked to reimburse you for any of those costs?
No.
Has she ever offered to get a paid supervisor in which to do for her visits?
No.
So she's solely relied upon you for her visitation with Jaden?
Correct.
No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffland, Mr. Toady, anything else?
No other questions of Ms. Ting, Judge.
Mr. Zernich? I don't think you
I don't have any further questions. None, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffland, call your next witness.
I'd like to call Kaylee. And Judge, I can do this in one of two ways. I guess I'll do it this way, rather than using it as cross of his client.
Kaylee, will you raise your right hand to be sworn?
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Hoffland.
Good morning, Kaylee. You're the mother of Jaden, the child that we've been talking about.
Good morning. Yes, that's true.
And when was Jaden born?
April 13th, 2012 at 7:17 in the morning.
And in April 13, 2012, were you providing a stable environment for Jaden?
Yes, counsel.
And so in 2000, you subsequently, when your son was born, you were living with your mother in New York, correct?
Yes, for 2 weeks because I needed to, get better. I had a C-section.
But prior to your child before Jaden was born, you lived with your mother at her house, correct?
No, counsel.
Well, then why does it state in all the papers that that was your residence, your address when your son was born?
No, I lived with my roommate. Her name was Christina White.
So how long did you live with her?
Lived with her for about 5 months
So,
while I was in New York.
so you lived in New York for 5 months before your son was born?
Yes.
And you never lived with your mother except for the 2 weeks after your son was born?
Yes, I moved out at 17.
And so after you left, you subsequently moved to Nevada, correct? You left New York?
Yes, and
And when did
Yes.
you leave New York?
But I left twice. So the first time was in 2011. The second time was in 2013.
I'm sorry. All my questions that I'm now asking you are all going to be after the birth of your son. So you left
Okay.
in 2013 with your son.
Yes, counsel.
And what month was that? Summer, spring?
Summer. Can you give me one moment, please? Summer, July of 2019. I'm sorry, 2013, sorry.
Okay, so summer of 2013 you moved to Nevada with Jaden, correct?
Hmm? Yes.
And then you've lived in Nevada ever since, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you, from the time you left New York up until the time that you moved to Nevada in July of 2013, were you providing a stable environment for Jaden?
Yes, can I add something to the gap between New York and Vegas, please?
Sure.
I was residing in Texas, Purple, Texas, and in Hornsby, Tennessee, before I moved directly to Vegas.
Okay, so during the first year and a half of your son's life, you lived in Texas and you lived in Tennessee.
I lived in New York, Texas, and then Tennessee, and then Vegas.
Okay, so while you lived in Texas and Tennessee, before you moved to Nevada, were you providing a stable environment for your son?
Yes, counsel.
All right, and so let's just go back. Now we're in Nevada 2014, the summer. You've lived in Nevada ever since?
Yes, counsel.
And so when was it? It was in September of 2014 when your son was taken from you by CPS, correct?
Yes, counsel.
What was the date of the incident when your son was taken away from you?
September 25th, 2014, or September 29th?
You don't
Sure.
recall the 25th or 29th?
To my best recollection, it would be the 25th of September, 2014.
And from that period of time, let's say from July of 2013 through September or 25th of 2014, were you providing a stable environment for your son?
Yes, counsel.
And from September 25th through today's date, have you provided a stable environment for your son?
Yes, counsel.
Okay. So was there any period of time during your son's life where you have not provided a stable environment for him?
No, counsel.
Okay. Let's go back. I mean, you saw the exhibit AA that was presented introduced by the mother?
One moment, please.
Brad, I have your exhibit book here. Did you say exhibit AA?
For my mom.
Oh, sorry. I got wrong.
They're Frank's exhibit.
Frank's book. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I have to get that book. I'll give you a moment.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Grab.
Counsel, AA, is that what you said?
8 is the number 8A.
Oh, 8. I'm sorry.
It's the toxicology report.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, you can proceed because I know what that says.
Okay. All right. So you know what this document is. What's the date of this document? Do you recall?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really recall.
It's the date that when your son was born, correct? It's your toxicology report, correct?
Oh, correct, yeah.
All right.
Correct, sorry, 4/13/12.
Okay, and so that was the toxicology report when you gave birth to your son. And when you gave birth to your son, Jaden, is that you were tested positive for marijuana in your system. Is that correct?
Yes, counsel.
Okay. So you'd agree with me is that when you gave birth to your son, that your son, you were under the influence of marijuana, correct?
I wasn't under the influence, but I did have it in my system.
Okay, so tell me, was that just a one-time event how you got the marijuana? Was that by mistake, or were you smoking it regularly, or what was going on?
No, counsel. I had extreme nausea, so when it was unbearable, I would have an edible.
And so you shared that information with your doctor?
Yes, counsel.
And you got your doctor's permission to have edible marijuana when you're pregnant with your son?
No, at the time it was not medically legal. She did advise me not to.
But you did it anyway, is that true?
Correct.
Did you look into what harm or defects it could cause to your son as a result of taking these edible?
Yes.
And did you share that information with your doctor?
Yes.
And despite knowing that the adverse effects that could have on your son, you still took it anyway. Is that true?
I didn't see any major effects.
You didn't care about your son. Is that true?
I did care about my son.
But you took the marijuana anyway, correct?
Yes.
So after that period of time, well, why don't you tell me what happened on September 25th of 2014?
Okay. So, I was very, very tired that day. It was a very long day. I came home from work at the beginning of the day at 6 in the morning from Larry Flint's Hospital Club where I danced. And I was really tired that day. I had gotten no sleep. When I got home, the babysitter had to go. So I did not have time for sleep. So I had stayed up the entire day, and I was very, very tired, but I wanted Jaden to have a good day and not, dwell on me being tired. So I brought him to the park, and we were there for about 3 hours, playing tag and coloring on a blanket, and we had a picnic, and it started to get dark outside, so I told him, Jaden, let's go. And Jaden was 2.5, adorable as can be, but a little rebellious at 2.5, what they say. And so he heard me say, let's go, and he ran off as far as he could run. And so I ran off after him, and I tried to pick him up, and he would kind of wobble himself like this out of my hands and threw himself on the ground and started screaming, no, no, no. He didn't want to leave the park, so I attempted to pick him up and stand him up because I didn't want to pick him up all the way and him wobble himself out of my arms and fall. So I just kept repeatedly trying to stand him up and tell him, Jaden, please calm down and walk with me. Can you please walk with me? I had to repeat myself a couple times. I may have been a little loud and he's screaming. This causes a situation. Everybody's looking, So long story short, some people had made a report saying I was being too aggressive with him, and I was arrested at the bus stop and I had cocaine in my possession and a Xanax in my purse that I forgot about. I just was not in the right place of mind. Yeah. So, it was a very tired day, and I wasn't thinking. So, this happened, and I was arrested. Later on, pled guilty only due to the fact that I was being charged with felony child abuse and felony trafficking. And my attorney told me that if you don't plead guilty to this, you're going to get felonies, and if you plead guilty, they're going to reduce it to misdemeanors. So I did not agree to abusing Jaden, but I did admit to having the drugs on me, and that was stupid. So there's your answer.
And so during this, did you grab? I mean, it's in the report. It says that you grabbed and you shook him aggressively and you struck the child. Did that occur? Or is that stated incorrectly?
Stated incorrectly, also.
You've seen the report, correct? You saw the
Correct, which I do not agree with.
And the abuse and neglect. So it does say that in the report.
I'm sorry?
It does say that in the report that you aggressively shaking Jaden in a public park, correct?
There's no.
Objection, Your Honor, that's hearsay.
Yeah, when CPS came and picked him up,
Wait,
he didn't have a mark
I
on
made
him.
objection. Object. Judge gonna answer.
Sorry.
Oh, Judge, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, counsel. The reports have already been admitted. The question is whether or not she concedes that is in the report, and that's an accurate description of the allegations in the report. She just denies what's in the report, or is she denying that that's in the report? So I'll allow Mr. Hoffman just to clarify her testimony that way.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
You can answer, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. Are you denying that it's in the report that there was the allegation that you're aggressively shaking Jaden?
I'm not denying that it's in the report,
Thank you. You're just
but I don't agree with it.
All right. And you said that you just got off work working at Larry Hustler's and establishment, and you're a dancer there, correct?
Yes, that was the beginning of the day. This event happened later in the evening.
Okay. And so what time did this event occur in the evening?
About 8:45 at night.
In the report, it
Or
says...
it's 7:45 or 8:45. To my best of my recollection, it was between 7 and 8. Time to leave the park for sure.
Well, my question to you is, in the report, it says it's at 10 o'clock at night, 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's when I was at the bus stop and the police pulled me over and made that report.
All
So
right.
it's about some time later. Once the people were harassing me, I had eventually walked off and tried to get to the bus stop. And I sat at the bus stop for a while before they even came, waiting for a bus to come.
Who was harassing you?
I believe it was a off-duty police officer and his wife that were in the park walking their dog that day, and they just didn't approve of the situation.
And so you said they harassed you. What did you mean by harassing you?
They were following me, taking videos of me walking away, and I'm not sure, and then when I got to the sidewalk area, they started following me with their car. They were just really concerned. So to me it was harassing, but I now understand they were concerned of the situation.
Subsequently, there was an action which was started in which your son was taken away from you, correct?
Correct.
All right, and so that action was actually in place for several years, correct?
Can you repeat that question for me, please?
Sure. There was a CPS case which was started against you. Then there was a J case which was initiated, correct?
Yes.
Did you participate in the court proceedings?
Yes.
And during those proceedings, when did you first participate in those proceedings?
As soon as they started. October?
So in October of 2014, you went to court to respond to allegations which are being brought against you for child abuse, correct?
Correct.